Right, part 3 in my growing up series, the 70s, well, primarily 70s, late 60s, all the 70s, and probably 81, I think that's where we had a cut-off point. This is to do with music, this is to do with artists, bands. And I'm going to go through some bands with you, and I'm going to tell you a little about all and why I got into them and why I do and don't like them. I've said in the past on an old video on here now, the channel's 9 months old, this would be 6-7 months ago. The first song that I remember really getting into, and when I fell in love with music, was a song by Slade. It was called 'Cause I Love You. And today I think it still stands up extremely well. Totally different song than anything before it or since. It's a really unusual song, and I loved it. First band I ever saw was a band called Thin Lizzy. I think 'Cause I Love You was in about 71, I think. Might have been 72, I'm not sure. First live band I saw was a band called Thin Lizzy. That was in either 76 or 75, but I think it may have been 76. Could have been 75, I honestly don't know. My memory is that bad. But from growing up, I grew up in the 70s. That was my musical era. I've always loved it to this day, or love it to this day. As I'm always saying in here, I recommend Sounds of the 70s to anybody. I think it's an absolutely unbelievable show. On a Sunday afternoon, I'll listen regularly. I've said it right. But let me give you some of the bands that I grew up with. And my era, as I say, was the 70s, and it was probably your glam rock era. I'll give you two lots here. Now, I've got bins on for this. It's getting dark now, but I'm hoping to finish this before it gets really dark, because I don't want to put that light on that you have above the laptop. Reason being is it shines in the bins, and I don't want you to see all of that. But it is getting dark, so I do apologise. Right, let me give you the first lot. Sweet. I love the Sweet. Mud. The Rubettes. Showaddy Waddy. They did some great songs. They weren't all great, but they did some great songs. Bowie. Everybody loves Bowie. Everyone thinks he's a genius. I don't love him as much as everybody else does, but he was great. Done some fantastic songs. T-Rex. Probably the first really big pop star when I was growing up. Adam and the Ants. Gilbert O'Sullivan. I've added Adam and the Ants just on there. I didn't have it on there. Gilbert O'Sullivan. Leo Sayer did some fantastic songs. I'll give you 3 more that were well before the 70s, and I'll tell you why. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Nat King Cole. Loved all 3. Absolutely loved them. When I was a kid growing up, it had probably been between about 76 and 78. I remember, I think Frank Sinatra did his last ever concert. I think it was in London. And I'm pretty sure he started with Dean Martin, and I think the third on the bill, they had 3. I think it was Liza Minnelli, but I could be wrong. It could have even been Judy Garland. But I've got a feeling it was Liza Minnelli. I've mentioned that because I'd like to ask, is there anybody on this channel that sees this video that actually went to London to see those 3? And was it Liza Minnelli? Did anybody here go? I could have gone. Well, I say I could have gone. I was very, very young at the time. I mean, very, very young. It's London. I live in Warrington. I don't know if my mum and dad would be keen on me going. I might have been about 15 or 16 at the time, but I think I was very old for my age, and I think I could have talked them round, but I never went in the end. I'm going to add a couple more on here now that I didn't even think of, and I'll tell you why in a moment. These were doing great songs in the 70s, but they're older than that. Johnny Cash. I love Johnny Cash. Your Man with the Beard. Kenny Rogers. Fantastic. Diana Ross. Kate Bush. Sparks with the little fella, the 2 brothers, one of them like Hitler. Dollar. I'm only mentioning Dollar because I really fancied Therese Bazaar when I was younger. We did something on her a few months ago. Probably not the greatest group in the world, and David Van Day was right up his own backside, but they did a couple of catchy songs. Bananarama, and I've mentioned them because they did some great songs, but the reason I mentioned them is it Siobhan Fahey? I think that was her name. Did she later marry Dave Stewart, I think, from the Eurythmics? I've always remembered them. She was the one of the 3 that I really fancied and really fancied her. Yet you used to read, I don't know if you've heard this story before, the other girls used to say that she smelled. She never used to bath. She was one of these that never believed in bathing and always stunk. And it always put me off her. But I used to look at her and think, well, you might not be bathing, but you look lovely. Don't know what it was about her, but she just looked lovely to me. Aerosmith, totally different kind of music, but they were out in the 70s. Aerosmith, Creedence Clearwater Revival, love them, still do to this day. And Supertramp. Right, so I'm going to leave you with all of those. That's list number 1. And then we're going to go list number 2. And then I've got a couple of facts about a couple of them. So I'm rattling through these. You're only 4 minutes in now. There's a few more on list number 2. I'll talk them quickly. Most of it's rock music. I've told you in the past I'm into the old rock music, but it's not all rock music. In fact, I'm going to have to put this light on because it is getting darker and we're going to get done if I don't put the light on. But this is how basic and how amateurish the channel is because I'm doing it whilst talking to you. You've seen it all happening. Wait a minute. It's going to light up in one moment and you're going to get the glare in the bins. There we go. Nothing I can do, folks. Nothing I can do. Right. List number 2. Gladys Knight with or without her pips. The Everly Brothers. Neil Diamond. The Teardrop Explodes. Julian Cope. Now I know for those that already know it, he was the singer in The Teardrop Explodes, but he also performed shows on his own when he split from the Teardrops. Gary Glitter. I know I shouldn't have mentioned him, but there is a reason. Gary Glitter. I've said it twice. I wish I'd only said that once. I should have said GG. Or I should have said the leader of the gang. Then I wouldn't have had to have mentioned his name. Slade. Mentioned them earlier, didn't I? My first ever song. David Essex. The Steve Gibbons Band. Prince from America. He was out in the 70s. There's a reason they're all coming first. Deep Purple. The Ian Gillan Band. Or Gillan as they became later. Rainbow. Elf. You won't know who Elf is, most of you, but some of you might. Whitesnake. Led Zeppelin. Black Sabbath. Blizzards of Oz. Van Halen. Uriah Heep. UFO. Wishbone Ash. Kiss. Rush. Alice Cooper. Pink Floyd. Journey. REO Speedwagon. Nazareth. Motorhead. Def Leppard. The Police. The Jam. Bad Company. AC/DC. Rose Tattoo. The Mighty Quo. That's Status Quo for those that don't know. The Who. ZZ Top. Or as somebody once said to me, ZZ Top. All the same but totally different. John Fogerty. The Rolling Stones. Ted Nugent. And Diamond Head. I bet nobody that ever watches this video knows who that last one is. But I'll tell you in a minute. Right. So I gave you 2 lists there. The first one started with Sweet and ended with Supertramp. The second one started with Gladys Knight, with or without her pips, and ended with Diamond Head. The first list are all acts that I've never seen live. Probably wanted to see them all, but never seen any of them live. The second list, I've seen them all. I've seen lots more, but I don't remember them. My memory is that bad, I don't remember them. Now, the thing is, I could have gone and seen the Sinatra thing in London. Didn't. One of the biggest regrets of my life. It was near the end of his career, but still, I would have loved it, and I always loved Dino. I could have also seen Johnny Cash. I forgot him off the list, I don't know, but I remembered him in the end. I didn't. I've said on here previously, I got tickets for my mum and dad. I drove my mum and dad to the Manchester Apollo and picked them up later. I should have gone and watched it. I'd have appreciated it more. I think my dad appreciated it, wasn't admitting it, but I'd have liked him more than my dad, and my dad was a bit uncomfortable. He's seen all blokes wearing Stetsons and strapped with guns to the waist, you know, in gun belts. Not proper guns, it's not the US of A here, it's Great Britain. They were cap guns, really. My dad thought it was all a bit weird. I think I would have thought the same myself. I wouldn't have gone in a gun and a Stetson. No, I wouldn't have done that, no. But I wish I'd have gone and watched old Johnny Boy. But anyway, of the first lot, the Sweet, I love the Sweet. Brian Connolly just died too young for me. What an absolute fantastic voice. Mud, old Les Gray died young as well. Lonely This Christmas, one of my favourite Christmas songs ever. Doesn't get enough airplay. Bowie, everybody loves Bowie. I know he's brilliant. I know he's absolutely brilliant. But I've seen better. I like people more, but I know the real Bowie aficionados will think I'm talking sacrilege. We'll go down all the rest. Wait a minute, who we're going to stop at? Wait a minute. Creedence Clearwater Revival. I would have loved to have seen them and didn't. I've put John Fogerty on the list because I've seen him on his own since Creedence Clearwater Revival split up, and it was almost like seeing them because he did all the songs and he does them brilliantly, and he is the voice of Creedence Clearwater Revival. Right, second page, Gladys Knight. Loved her, absolutely loved her. Seen her in Las Vegas in the MGM in the small theatre there. It's very intimate. It's only about 500-600 people. She was absolutely brilliant. I put her at the top because for all I'm a rocker, I like loads of music, loads of kinds of music. There's loads of stuff I've seen. It isn't only rock. I mean, in more recent years, I've seen Carrie Underwood, who's country and western. I've seen Beyonce. I've seen M People. That's not that recent, but there's loads of other stuff I've seen anyway. Gladys Knight was brilliant. The Everly Brothers, just sensational. And I think they still weren't talking at that time, but they were brilliant. It was many, many years ago now. Neil Diamond, brilliant. Some of the shirts I'm not so sure about, but he was brilliant. Teardrop Explodes. Seeing them on a bill with Queen at Leeds, I think with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts and others, they were fantastic. They only really did 3 songs I ever knew, but I loved all 3. Julian Cope, absolute nutter, but I liked him. Seen him in the Ritz in Manchester. GG, the leader of the gang. I'm only mentioning him because live, everybody loved him. He was out every Christmas. He was crap, absolutely crap. But there's a tribute band that used to do the rounds in the northwest of England, maybe all over England, but especially in the northwest, called the Gutter Band. I have never, ever, ever, ever to this day seen a better tribute act. Absolutely fantastic. They used to do a lot of his stuff. They did stuff by T-Rex, The Sweet, and all of those. They came, I think the main singer had a codpiece with the microphone in it, and you take out the codpiece. They had 2 drummers. They started out from the back of a coffin. I think from the back of a coffin they had a Reliant Robin cut in half, and they dumped the boot of the Reliant Robin. There was no coffin, it was like Reliant Robin, what man about? They opened the boot and they walked out the, what's it called, Reliant Robin. It was just fantastic. They were just absolutely brilliant. And the act and everything suffered when old Gary did what he did and spent his first time in jail. I think bookings was a lot harder to come by thereafter for them, which was a shame because they were brilliant. What an absolutely phenomenal tribute act they was. If anyone's seen the Gutter Band, people of my age, comments down below. I bet you loved them. I've never seen better. They were just fantastic. Anyway, Slade. Seen Slade more than once, but I was there the day that they stormed the Reading Rock Festival. Heard a story about it on the Sounds of the 70s only a few weeks ago when they spoke to Noddy Older, and he was saying, he said, yeah, we were virtually split up then, it wasn't working for us, our popularity was on the wane. He said, and somebody pulled out, I think it was the Friday night spot of the festival, or might have been the Saturday night spot, the headline, or the number 2, it was the number 2 I think. They pulled out of it, and the last minute, some record company of ours asked us would we do it at a week's notice, and first we said no, and then we said, go on, we'll give it a go. And it was that time when we'd not been rehearsing and whatever else. We went down there on the Saturday night, he said we travelled in a transit van, got out of the van, got our gear out, he said it was out of this world. He said it just got us going again, started us up again. The crowd went absolutely wild for us. I think they got 2 or 3 encores. It's never been heard of in Reading before. You don't get encores, especially unless you're the main band. They were absolutely phenomenal, absolutely unbelievable. David Essex. I used to love David Essex. I know a lot will laugh at me for it, but I loved him. Seeing him at the Golden Garter in Manchester on my own. Used to go to the odd concert on my own. I didn't care. But I liked him. Boys of my age didn't, but I did. The Steve Gibbons Band, you might not remember him. He only had one big hit really, called Tulane. The reason I remember Steve Gibbons Band, he looked cool, I liked him. He appeared once in a little club in Warrington once. He was the first famous-ish person I'd ever seen. Actually spoke to. I actually bought him a pint. It probably was bitter, but I can't remember. That takes me on to number 2. Deep Purple, one of my favourite bands of all time. Ian Gillan, a fantastic singer. When they split up from Deep Purple, you had the Ian Gillan band, that became Gillan. You had Richie Blackmore doing Rainbow. You had singer number 2 in Deep Purple, David Coverdale doing Whitesnake. Richie Blackmore with Rainbow, I think his first singer was Ronnie James Dio, who came from Elf, who we used to see regularly. They used to support loads of rock bands, they never quite made it. So all them bands came from one. But I remember one of the greatest experiences I've ever had with music was meeting Ian Gillan, who was a massive hero of mine at the time, and a massive, massive superstar in Salford one day. His band was only smaller when they left Deep Purple. He was with the Ian Gillan band, with John McCoy and Bernie Tormey. Massively underrated Bernie Tormey. What a lead guitarist, what a front man. Just brilliant to watch, but what a shame. I love Bernie Tormey. Anyway, I met Ian Gillan with John McCoy one day. They're walking up the road and I'm talking to... I got brave enough to go and say hello to him, and I've got an LP there, Deep Purple singles A's and B's. This shows you about record companies, folks. Deep Purple singles A's and B's in the mid-70s it had been, and I shown it him. I asked him to sign it, and he did, and I think John McCoy did. I've got it somewhere. And he said, where's this come from? I said, I bought it today in Manchester. Never heard of it. He said, I don't know anything about it. And he was going absolutely berserk that the record company or his management from Deep Purple had brought out another LP without his say-so. You know, because they'd all fractured, they'd all splintered, and he had no say in it. And he'd got royalties from it, but he was unhappy because he had no say in the you know, deciding what to put out there and what not to put out there. Anyway, he's gone to Salford University, done his sound check, and then he's in a bar across the road later. And I actually buys Ian a pint. I buys him a pint. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you what I got him, folks. I should have done it in my 70s video. Old beers, I did the old beers, didn't I? The old Party 8, the Watney's Party 8, Tart and Bitter. I'll tell you what I got for him. You won't find any more on the high street. Went many, many years ago. A Mackerson. Ian Gillan, drunk, Mackerson. And that's what I got for him. The old Mackerson. That's what he had. And if memory serves, he bought me a pint back. He didn't have to, I'm pretty certain he did. When I tell the story, I say he did because it makes it sound better and that he was a great guy. Well, he was a great guy. It was really nice. He gave us 5-10 minutes of his time and he was very generous. Liked him a lot. Always have done. He should have stopped singing 15-20 years ago. Seen him in Liverpool like 20 years ago. Nowhere near as good. But he's done so many bad things with his voice. Nowhere near as good. But he has done a couple of good LPs over the last few years. Well, again, a good few years ago. I've not heard recent ones. Right, where did we get to? Led Zeppelin. Seen them and the big last gig, wherever it was, Nebworth, out of this world. Never realised they were as good. All my mates loved them. I liked them a lot. Only liked about 8 of the well-known songs. Knew they were going to be good live. Didn't realise how good Jimmy Page was till I seen Jimmy Page. Absolutely fantastic. Black Sabbath, yeah, great, no problem at all. Blizzards of Oz, that's Ozzy Osbourne going from Black Sabbath to his own band Blizzards of Oz. Blizzards of Oz for me were always better than Black Sabbath. First 2 LPs, brilliant. Randy Rhoads, what another sad loss. Absolutely brilliant. But when I mentioned them two, I follow them with Van Halen. Reason being, the first time I ever seen Van Halen, they were in support of Black Sabbath in Manchester. They absolutely wiped the floor with Black Sabbath. And when I say wipe the floor, I mean wipe the floor. They only did a 40-minute set, Van Halen. They did You Really Got Me twice right at the start and also as an encore because they never had enough songs. They were absolutely out of this world. I had never seen anything like Eddie Van Halen before and I don't suppose I've ever seen anything like him since. Unbelievable. And I've always give kudos to, is that the word? The younger say props, that's what they say in American Idol, props to Ozzy and the boys for not messing about with the sound. Because in the old days, if you got a band that were on first that were brilliant, the main band had messed with the sound to make them sound not so good because they didn't want to get blown off stage. That night, Van Halen blew them off stage. Nobody messed with the sound. It was absolutely sensational. Uriah Heep, UFO, Wishbone Ash, Kiss, Rush, Alice Cooper, Pink Floyd. Never a lover of Pink Floyd with me, but I went to see him when The Wall was out. It was a good spectacle, but everybody loved Pink Floyd. I never really did. Journey, REO Speedwagon, they've both become famous more recently because the songs on Pop Idol, X Factor and all that palaver. Nazareth, Motorhead, and yeah, they were loud. Def Leppard, remember seeing Def Leppard the first time at Reading Rock Festival? They got cans and bottles and everything throughout them because they were big-headed and Joe Elliott, none were more big-headed than Joe. And he put loads and loads of stuff in the rock press about how great they were and how big they were going to be. It didn't go down well. They got canned, but they carried on playing, so well done them. The Police, seen the Police at Reading when Roxanne first came out. What a fantastic, brilliant song. But they were only a 3-piece and they sounded really tinny. They never had anything about no sound behind them. They sounded really lacking. As they got better, as they got older and wiser, they found ways to fill the sound out and make them sound right. I believe in the late years they sounded great live, but in the early days they didn't at all. Although his voice was brilliant, they just didn't sound good live. Which takes me to the Jam, because they were a 3-piece. They sounded a bit better, but the Police and the Jam didn't go down as well as others did because it was really a rock festival for that 3 or 4 year period. But great bands, some great songs. Bad Company, AC/DC. I've asterisked them because I've seen AC/DC with the latest fellow and I always wish I'd have seen him with Bon Scott. I should have done. My mate did, seen him a couple of times with him and I thought they were a punk band and I wasn't anything to do with punk and I wouldn't go. I should have gone. Love Bon Scott now, but sadly died and I've never seen him when he was with them. Rose Tattoo, if you don't know them folks, they're another Australian band. For me, in my humble opinion, better than AC/DC. Never got anywhere near as big. Nowhere near as big. And when I talk big, we'll go completely opposite of big, and that is small. The lead singer, for those that don't know Rose Tattoo, is a guy called Angry Anderson. Only a little fella, and I mean little. Very vertically challenged. For all, he's got a bald head and tattoos all over everywhere. Looks scary. He's a mini-me. He's very small. You'll know him 2 ways. I think he did the theme song or some kind of song to, not the theme song, a song to Neighbours. A mushy love song. It might have been when Kylie Minogue and whatever got married. It got to number 1 anyway. I can't think what it's called. It's not a song that's for me. And he was also the villain in the Mad Max one, the Beyond the Thunderdome with Tina Turner. He was the guy that wore the feathers out of his head and whatever else. That was old Angry Anderson. Brilliant band live. Absolutely fantastic. Quo, Status Quo. The Who, one of the greats of all time live bands. Brilliant. Again, another sad thing for me. I'd never seen him with Keith Moon. Wanted to. Was into him at the time, never toured at the time, didn't get to see them. Seen him with Kenny Jones and, is it Bonham's son? Not Bonham's son, I think Zach Starkey, is it Ringo's son that plays with them? Seen him with them, but never seen him with Keith. I wish I had, but that's life. John Fogerty, as I say, I've seen him. The Rolling Stones, seen them twice. Seen him in Newcastle in about 76, 78. Out of this world, St James's Park. Brilliant. Seen him in Manchester at Main Road 20, 25 years later. Crap. Absolutely crap. I know they're supposed to be good now. Maybe it was just a bad concert. I've not seen them more recently. Ted Nugent and then Diamond Head. Nobody will know Diamond Head. Birmingham band. Absolutely brilliant. Shows what can go wrong with music when you're being managed by your mum and your mum's boyfriend or friend. If you don't get proper management, you get nothing. And they had no proper management. Brilliant band. Some brilliant songs. Everybody was tipping them as the next Led Zeppelin. They came out at the same time as Def Leppard. The smart money was on them doing better than Def Leppard. Def Leppard just rose unbelievably on the back of 2 out of this world LPs and a lot of hard work and a lot of drinking and sniffing stuff and whatever else. But they rose to great heights. Diamond Head plumbed the depths. What a shame. They were an absolutely fantastic band. And that's it from me, folks. There was a couple while I was saying that I've missed off and I can't think what they called. So there's other bands I've seen that were brilliant and other bands that I'd have liked to have seen never did. I don't know if I'd have wanted to see Boston. They did some great songs. Kansas, Carry On Our Wayward Son, brilliant song. Don't think I've seen either. There was other great bands in the 70s. I can't remember them all, but that is a pretty extensive list. And we're on 21 minutes, so I'm going to cut it before it gets to 22. So 30 seconds to go. So, folks, if you've seen any of those that I've not seen from part 1, let me know and tell me how good or bad they were. If you've seen it on the list from part 2, and it's an extensive list, let me know how good or bad you think they were. If you think I'm an imbecile because all I like is rock music, you can think that, but I like a lot more than that. Did and still do. There's probably some great acts. I mean, really great acts. I've seen them, forgotten I've seen them, just did not come to mind. But if I went through all my programmes and whatever else, I'd find more. But I did that off the cuff, but I had to write them down because there was that many. But no, those bands, all in the main, were around in the 70s, which is why I brought them up. And that, for me, was my era. A great, great, great era for music. Some are still going, most of them not as good as they was in days gone by, but a couple of them are still cutting it. Anyway, we're on 22:05, so I'm going to cut it off at that. So that's the music one for me for that era. I don't think I'm going to go to individual songs or LPs. I don't think I am. I think next we're going to be looking at TV. Probably American TV and British TV and children's TV, but God knows when I'm going to get that done. I've got all the workings out, all the writings and this, that and the other. I've just got to formulate it. Hope you enjoyed. If you didn't and you've watched it, thanks anyway.